Happy Friday, everyone. Let me tell you first of all what our planets are doing right now. Right now, Mars is in retrograde. So that means that any potential disagreements that you may have, struggles, situations that are volatile, you're going to see them increase incredibly during Mars in retrograde. If you follow astrology, astronomy, and the conditions of the world, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. Anytime there is a retrograde, it's when the alignments of the planets, sometimes it's an optical illusion, but it's when the alignments of the planets appear to be actually be going in the opposite direction in which they normally do. I am not an astrologer by any point of reference. I'm learning, so I like to stay in my lane with those things that I know a little bit enough to be dangerous. But that's the problem. We have in the magical community itself, and it's not just in Hoodoo, all it takes, especially in the advent of social media, but this has been going on for decades. If you read Mojo Working and critiques of modern magical stores, you're going to see this more and more, and it is disturbing. So let's back up a little bit to the way I was trained to perform magic. And thank you, I got this at a thrift store. This is, I believe, some type of cultured pearl. And it was very inexpensive. And no, I ain't gonna tell y'all where I got it because I'm going back and getting more. But anyways, don't derail me, sis. Don't derail me. Anyways, it was under $20. I believe this was under $20, and it's sterling silver, and it is pearl. So yes, because I'll be out here hunting and digging, and that's the thing. When I first started practicing magic and I started working with the guys who own the voodoo store, they got me hip real quick to magical correspondences. They also got me hip real quick to some of the fraudulent practices of some of these suppliers. Let's take a root that's hard to find, basically non-existent, and yes, I'm trying to grow my own, is Jezebel root. It's a Louisiana iris, a radice or something like that, I believe is its Latin term, okay? And they let me know, they sat me down with some Jezebel root, and I do this with stuff like wormwood. You can like breathe wormwood and you can taste it, and it's nasty, and you know it's wormwood. If it don't smell like ass, it ain't asafoetida. If it don't smell like booty, it's not hops. Oh, what's the other one that smells like ass? Valerian. If that shit don't clear your clock, it's not real. They really, and I can't thank them enough. And then my mambo has gone on to show me even more things about these natural herbs and roots and products that we need to pay attention to, okay? But you have to understand that the market is so saturated with bullshit that sometimes somebody will get something real and not acknowledge it. So let's talk about that. It is so funny. I wish I could tag Daisy, because Daisy contends that myrrh smells like booty. And half of the people that you will talk to about myrrh, because myrrh and dragon's blood and frankincense and benzoin and a number of other things that come in resin come out of a tree. And if you go online and do a Google for like dragon's blood, it literally looks like it bleeds red. But if you know anything about tree sap, you know that it's thick. You know that it's not very malleable, and that it will harden very quickly in the right conditions, okay? That's how we come up with chunk resins, okay? So, had a situation where a customer ordered some myrrh a few months ago, and she was like, what is this? Is this really myrrh? And she took a picture of it, and the picture was not very clear. And I was just like, well, that's what seems to be myrrh. We would have sent you myrrh. The only thing that we could have done by accident is maybe sent you a different resin, But what you have is the resin, and it very much, from what I can see, looks like myrrh. Well, a customer got back to me today and said that the what she had did not smell like the essential oil that they had. Okay. I'll have to get back to Jezebel root in a minute, y'all, because they doing some real fuck shit with Jezebel root. Very hard to get a hold of. But I was just like, okay, so the myrrh oil that you have, is it very thick? Is it almost like blackstrap molasses? And if you don't know what blackstrap molasses is, you ain't hoodooing, okay? I was like, is it hard to get out of the bottle? Because myrrh, benzoin, if you're getting, and it's not an essential oil, what you're getting is the liquefied hardened sap. Basically, it's probably even constituted or watered down so that you can see. Myrrh stinks. I love myrrh. Myrrh don't smell like booty to me, but I understand that myrrh smells like booty to a lot of y'all. It's cool. But what I'm trying to explain to you all is that myrrh that you get in an incense stick, that you get in this so-called essential oil, especially if it's fluid. If you go and get myrrh oil from someplace and it doesn't pour, it's thicker than syrup, y'all. It's thicker than alga syrup. In fact, I stopped using benzoin and myrrh, the essential oils, because number one, I knew I was getting them from a place that was selling the legitimate item. It was coming to me legitimately. Trust me, and different manufacturers differ. Like the allspice that I got from that manufacturer was watered down compared to the allspice that I ordered from India, okay? A lot of us are getting watered down, chemically manipulated things. Just like if you go to Europe, they don't put the oxygenator in their meat that makes it red. So if you go to the grocery store in Europe, you're gonna see that your meat is brown at the grocery store if it's been cut more than a few hours, and you might not find that appetizing. And that is because benzoin is yes, it does not, benzoin doesn't pour, but and myrrh doesn't pour. And I pissed me off so much that I said, fuck that, I'm not using it. I'm just gonna crush the resin and put that directly in the products where I used the essential oil before, because it got on my nerves. It was not cost effective. You couldn't get it out of the bottle. So that person told me that their myrrh was liquid-ish and was not thick. And I'm like, well, then what you do not have is myrrh. You might have a myrrh-ish fragrance oil. Now, there's a lot of things that you cannot really purchase as essential oils, or that's going to be higher than giraffe's pussy. What I try to find, like, for example, there's very few fragrance oils that I would use, okay? The one that I use from one of my sources for rose oil is a natural fragrance oil that is made to smell like roses by making a combination of different essential oils. But you guys got to understand this Rootwork, okay? This ain't aromatherapy. So yes, I understand that aromatherapy does have something to do with the way a person will react to what you're wearing. If it recalls that scent, let's take, for example, when you have an open house and the realtor tells you to bake some cookies in the oven before you have an open house. Why? Because that reminds you of home. That reminds you of grandma. So yes, there is a I can't ever pronounce that, olfactory, your smell, what you see, and then also the actual energy and medicinal purposes. The medicinal purposes with the doctrine of signatures, you will find most cases what that herb is used for in medicine, it is also used for in magic. So I teach all of this in Hoodoo 101, and it's called the Doctrine of Signatures. It's not something that is unique to Hoodoo, but it is very much unique to magic. That what an herb smells like, look like, or does, how it performs, is how it will work magically. So for someone to tell me, and the person threw it away, I was like, why don't you just send it back to me? Because they wanted a refund for it. And I'm like, our policies say no refunds unless you can send this product back to me if it's defective. I've had people call, send me pictures. They even have to send the stuff back. clear pictures, like if a candle got broken in shipping or if an oil bottle leaked. Baby, I'm on it as much as I can, or if there's a missing item, I'll send it back out. This particular person, I'm like, I did give her a refund for some other things because she's actually a really wonderful client. I gave her some shipping refunds because people are ordering express shipping right now. Ain't no express shipping, but I got news for y'all. Wasn't no motherfucking USPS express shipping before COVID. I sent materials for the exhibit that I did performance art at the Prince George African American Museum. I sent that shit overnight. It got there 4 days later. Now, granted, I did send it overnight 2 or 3 days before I left for my trip because I knew the Postal Service is always on some fuck shit. That's why we only have priority shipping now, because first class shipping doesn't offer any insurance. So if you've only smelled an incense stick or a essential oil, that's why I don't sell essential oils, because I'm sorry, even though I am very convinced that 99% of the essential oils that I put in my products are legitimate and come from legitimate sources, there is always that chance that someone is not being honest. There are certain tests you can perform to see if you have an essential oil or if you have a fragrance oil. The way the oil spreads on paper is different, okay? You also have to understand that with most essential oils, with the exception of these resin oils, are used, there's a carrier oil in them. There is something that is in that essential oil because you got to understand what essential oils are, you guys. If it's real and if it's legitimate, it's heavily concentrated. There are essential oils out here that you cannot put on and go into the sun. Bergamot being one of them, unless you buy the version that's been chemically processed to remove it's photo. I don't think it's photosynthesis. It's photo something. It's photosensitivity. When you put that oil on your skin, even in a carrier oil, and go outside, it will make you burn quicker. Okay? Citrus oils, citronella. Y'all, there's so much that a lot of people don't know about essential oils, because if they did, you wouldn't have motherfuckers out here drinking them. Okay? So what happens is, and you know, people run businesses, you looking at the bottom line, and they will look at what they're spending on something. Say you're using real rose essential oil, and they'll realize that either you're going to have to raise the price of that to an astronomical rate, or you're going to have to figure out a way to make it cheaper. So, for example, rose water. Now, at the end of the day, rose water can just be some roses that were put into some distilled water and some vodka. But you're not going to smell roses. You got to understand that when you get herbs and roots, they're dried. And that's why in a lot of traditions, spiritual baths are made from fresh herbs. I threw out some rosemary today. Absolutely beautiful rosemary. But it had got left here after the move to the store. We found it in the basement as we were moving the craft room downstairs, and I snapped it. Nothing. You know, that's another thing about buying herbs, y'all. Yeah, you may get the tendency and the whim to want to buy these things in 1 pound bags, but you're probably not going to use them before they die completely. A dried herb is already half dead before you get it. If we get herbs from a manufacturer, if they already come cut, that's fine. If they don't come cut, you will not find us breaking them into little pieces to store them. We will store them as whole as we can. We go to the international grocery store here and get the lemongrass, and we have to cut it and peel it because it's layered, and put it in a food dehydrator and spend several days dehydrating, because if you do not, you will end up packaging up that lemongrass and it will mold. So you have to understand that, you know, things aren't, in this environment, in this world, you can't even trust what you see on television, what you see on the internet. Like they had that picture with Will Smith in the original Aunt Viv, and I'm looking for all kind of Photoshop. And Alan, who's a Photoshop specialist, he will pick a motherfucking picture apart. I can sometimes tell when something's been staged, and sometimes I cannot. So you can't even trust what your eyes are seeing. But if you are buying magical products, you better at least do a Google image search on what that product is supposed to look like in its natural state. That way, and if you notice on my website, I got nice close-up pictures of what this shit looks like, okay? You know what you're getting. Now, I can't guarantee that it's going to smell good to everybody. I'm one of those funny people about learning songs and stuff like that. If I have to memorize the lyrics for the song without hearing the melody, I may make a melody in my head. I did that once trying to prepare for a musical when we did, I can't remember. This is a black musical they did in 8th grade. Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. And the song that I was supposed to sing, I didn't have the music for. So I memorized the lyrics, but I had this melody in my head and I could never get the song right. Plus I can't sing, but that's beside the point. I couldn't get the melody right because I'd made up my own in my head. So you have to understand that when you're getting certain magical products and you're not being sold legitimate, pure things in their pure state, and a lot of this stuff I won't sell because you just can't get it. Adam and Eve root, forget it. Just don't. I just use a big balm of Gilead and a small balm of Gilead to signify Adam and Eve root. There are a few people who actually grow it, and that is why they are able to sell it. So I just ordered Master Wort seeds because Master Root. And how I find out what a particular herb or root has in its properties, the first thing I'm going to go and look for is its Latin name. And then I am going to search for the seeds for that Latin name. So I'm going to buy that by its Latin name. So for example, Hyjon is a specific genus of morning glory. Impamia jalapa. There are tons of impamias out here. Really pretty, beautiful. Their roots may look almost similar to Hyjon. But if the tradition says that Impamia jalapa is Hyjon, and that's the one root I really don't think you should be substituting. Now, a lot of different traditions like Wicca and stuff like that will tell you that you could substitute rosemary for everything. That's bullshit. That's an insult to rosemary. Rosemary has a very specific purpose. Mullein has a very specific magical purpose. Go look it up. It is not graveyard dust. You can't replace graveyard dirt. But because so many of these magical establishments have been making shortcuts for so fucking long, everybody's gotten used to the substitute. I went into a local occult store here, and they had the little cascarilla powder eggshell cups. They had it labeled gopher dust. And I asked the store owner, why would you do this? You know this is not gopher dust. And then she was like, I didn't really get a solid answer. But you have people out here thinking that cascarilla is gopher dust. And let me tell you something. I can't get my kids to make it, right? You don't make that. You don't make gopher dust. Hey, and Mark is a G, y'all. He's traveling right now, so he can't be in on this live. Mark is a G. Mark likes making gopher dust. He likes making hot foot powder and banishing shut the fuck up. And I don't know if he likes it, but he gets hype. He's like, he has an enthusiasm for it that y'all don't.
I think that's how he copes.
Is that how he deals with it? He got to psych himself out. You do. To make gopher dust, I know I'm not going to sit up and give everybody my fucking recipes, but I'm going to tell you something. If you're an herbal G, You should be able to at least pick out most of the herbs and roots. Say you buy working roots from me, you could be like, oh, that's lavender, that's chamomile, oh, that's valerian, oh, that smells like acid potato, oh, that's cinnamon. Because I'm buying the real fucking cinnamon. Also, fake cinnamon, y'all. Real cinnamon, the sticks, they curve inwards. They don't, it's you gotta watch, because there's fake cinnamon. And just like I was starting to tell y'all the story about how Ellen and Jeff taught me that when you crush real Jezebel root, that shit fucks with your throat. I don't know what is in Jezebel root, but that shit will make you cough. If it don't make you cough, it ain't Jezebel root. Another one of my suppliers. I know where to buy shit from, too, y'all. Like, there's some things, like, I'll buy my altar cloths from this supplier, but I'll be goddamned if I ever buy Jezebel root from them. And I'm going to tell you why. A friend of mine who also owns a store here was doing a wholesale order, and I'm like, ooh, they got Jezebel root. And if you notice, every single merchant who sells Jezebel root uses the same motherfucking picture. Why? Because they don't actually have the root to take a picture of it. Don't believe me? Go and look. See, I'm doing the homework so you don't have to, okay? So, friend of mine doing me a solid, fellow store owner, because, you know, the store owners here, for the most part, we're real cool. We work together. We help each other out. I love a lot of the people like Heather over at Purple Flame, Seamus over at the Magical Druid. You know, we give each other, you know, where you can get this, where you can get that. We're business owners. And so, and it's just very helpful. And those are the stores I recommend people to if I don't have something that they're looking for and I know somebody else sells it. I'm like, go here, go here. There's some places in this town I ain't sending nobody to. There's some stores on this motherfucking intranet I am not sending nobody to, okay? These internets. But back to Jezebel root. So I get a pound of this Jezebel root. Y'all, I think I just hit the motherfucking lotto. I think that these people have the one in. I think that they just, because they're a big company, they really got this shit. Now, y'all know I also garden, right? So I get it, and I realize this is tree mulch. This is bark from a tree. This is not the root of the Louisiana iris. But because I also tend to be a skeptic, I took that shit, put it in my mortar and pestle, and got to banging. Well, first of all, it didn't eventually powder. That was my first clue. Because you can bang it enough where it powders. Jazzy, get out of Marky's food. Fat savage. Anyways, this cat always in the other cat's food. So, and good luck growing your own, because I'm still trying to find the bulbs. Because I plan to greenhouse it. And when you're taking the root of something, y'all, and I'm not greenhousing it to sell, I'm greenhousing it so I can put it in my sugar daddy oil. You know, you can't, that's another thing. Some of these things are overused, like white sage, Hygiene root, where there are certain parts of the year where this shit is just not available. Hygiene root from any of my suppliers right now is unavailable. Does a bitch have her stash of Hygiene root? Yes, because I have one or two products that I put it in, but I'm not putting it in every single Hoodoo product because it wasn't meant for every single Hoodoo product. But back to Jezebel root. You know, they even showed me the proper way to hold the motherfucking mortar and pestle down in between my knees and make that shit work, okay? Taught me real ethical shit. My mama taught me real ethical shit too. I don't know. I'm always like, when I'm talking to these motherfuckers out here in these magical streets, I'm like, who raised you? Who was your my fucking 18-year-old daughter knows more about roots than some of these people that call themselves owning conjure stores. Okay? And that's because she grew up in it. We used to have quizzes. They used to quiz me. They used to quiz her. What's this? What's that? And oh, remember the time they made me taste dead sea salt? I tasted
it too.
I still retch. That is the most disgusting. I don't know. I probably eat asafoetida first because that's a cooking herb. And some Indian food. You eating asafoetida in Indian food. It's also good for baby Colin, but that's beside the point. But, you know, I crushed that so-called high John root from this major wholesaler, and it was tree bark. What? Huh? I said high John. I meant Jezebel root. Tree bark. Tree motherfucking bark. So when I called them, they had every fucking excuse in the book. And when you go on their website, it says in like, I'm swear, it's 6 points. The font size, not Iridace or however you pronounce. I'm bad with Latin. But it says that it is not from the iris family at all, because that particular iris has a last name. My baloney got a first name. Well, these roots and herbs have first names, middle names, motherfucking last names, because of the variations between the genesis of the plant. So when you talking to a conjurer and they can't tell you this shit, they don't know their fucking plants. They were not taught properly. So let's go back to that. I called these motherfuckers and they were like, well, it says on the website that it's not. I'm like, bitch, you put it on the bottom of the page on the website in 6-point font? Look, I'm just trying to find better ways to source a lot of different things. That gets me on to this whole commercial hoodoo, you all. You got to understand, one of the biggest concerns I had, and I always used to ask the guys at the voodoo store, why don't you have your own storefront? And they were like, well, that means, to fill a storefront, to really fill a storefront, you got to stock other people's stuff. And sometimes other people's stuff is not so good. You all, I have some candles that I received from one of my wholesalers who I buy some candles from. The ones that I say are hand poured. But if we do a Botanica style candle in a pinch, I might order a couple dozen of their 7 days because they're good. But they sent me some figural candles that wasn't shit. We ended up having to melt them down rather than put them on the website. I have some cat candles from them right now, and the green looks like serpentine instead of bright green. I'm just probably going to get the mold if we don't already have it and melt it down. Because there's certain shit I'm not going to sell y'all. Okay? So yeah, I kind of take umbrage to someone who's never seen a resin in its original format to tell me that it didn't smell like the essential oil they had. Number one, you don't have the essential oil. The essential oil, y'all have to understand, yes, everybody who is a witch of any type, because witching at its across all practices, at its lower common denominator is a relationship with nature and with spirit. And if you don't grow anything, and I used to make these jokes about how I was a black thumb, but I wasn't. I just didn't have time. If it wasn't for Mark and his gardening knowledge, Mark will go out in the garden and show me shit, and sometimes that shit will come back to me because I grew up in a town up in here in Ohio. We had acres. I couldn't even see the end of our land. And my grandfather was born on Compromise Plantation in Louisiana, and he farmed the land. My grandmother canned all of the stuff that he had. We ate good. I never even realized that we was on a limited income and then what my grandfather didn't plant, my grandmother did. So all the flowers, the gladiolas, see, I've always been able to plant the fuck out of a flower. And now my flower garden and vegetable garden, thanks to Mark and me, is the envy of my motherfucking neighborhood. I didn't have time to do it before. You all have to understand that to grow something, I don't give a damn if it's a child, your pet, your food, your intellect, you got to spend time with it. I got to get up and go and fucking weed when my ass hurts and I don't feel like doing shit. I gotta go water if it hasn't rained in a few days. You gotta do things to keep it alive. And as you do things to keep it alive, like shit just popped up, like aster popped up in my yard. My oldest told us it was goldenrod. It's not. It's an aster. I don't know where it came from, but guess what? It's beautiful and it's a love plant because I did the research. So now I can put it's not enough for me to sell, but I can put it in some of my formulations to give that extra punch. Another thing happened, evening primrose showed up in my front fucking garden, the mailbox garden, and I didn't know what it was. And that's one of the reasons why I started Black Witches Who Garden. So not just only I can come in and ask questions for shit I don't recognize, but so other people can learn to identify things as well. That's another thing, you know, we get back to nature, we start growing our own things, we start doing our own things. I'll give you an example. Poor Mark went for the okie doke. I did not know that it was possible for some people to touch poison ivy and not have a reaction. Because Trumper over next door to me, this motherfucker sprayed my magnolia tree with pesticides because he said this was poison ivy, and it was all getting up in my gutter and everything like that. And I was just like, and my oldest daughter let him do it. And I'm like, this is my house. We don't spray pesticides unless we absolutely have to. And we don't know if that's poison ivy. And I took it online, and half of y'all said it was, half of y'all said it wasn't. So me and Tiffany, we just pulled that shit off with our hands. And no problem. A year later, it comes back. My dumb ass tells Mark, that ain't no poison ivy. Me and Tiffany pulled that shit right off the side of the building. Did nothing happen to us. That shit fucked Mark up. I'm sorry, Mark. I feel bad. That was the one pesticide I let him go and buy, was the poison ivy killer. I'm looking at how my vegetables have grown. And like I said, Mark is a G when it comes to growing all kinds of shit. And some of the stuff looks like what we buy in the store, and some of it doesn't. Here, let me get this. They definitely don't get to the size of some of the stuff that you have in here. And I had this happen. I bought some green tomatoes at a farmer's market in Oakland once. And when I got home, there was a hole in it. When I cut it open, a little worm had traveled all the way back with me from this. So this is an example of, if you don't use pesticides, I'm going to try to get this in focus, of a hole. Now, come on. Do you think our ancestors threw away the whole goddamn tomato because it had a hole in it? But I wouldn't buy anything like this at the grocery store. There's a whole website that sells imperfect vegetables because people are throwing this away, y'all. People are starving. Oh, Facebook group, yes, Black Witches Who Garden. Isn't it what it's called, admins? Half y'all in here. Monique in it, Black Witches Who Garden, ain't that what I named it? I actually started the group because people who don't know what a pentagram is, which was used in when Christianity first became a cult, and stood for the 5 stations of the cross. But the pentagram, before that, air, water, spirit, fire, earth, that's what those points mean. An inverted pentagram is something different. A pentagram is different than a pentacult. Most people don't know the difference. Okay? And so I was in a Black Girls Who Garden or something like that, and they freaked out because somebody posted a picture of a pentagram garden. And, just hearing these fucking Jesus freaks sit up and insult my belief system was a little too much for me. So I started my own group because that's what I do. So I have my own store because I'm not going to sell you motherfucking cascarilla as goofer dust. Okay? I'm not going to send you, and that's why I don't sell essential oils. Unless I'm making them motherfuckers for myself from plant to stern, there is no guarantee that even what I'm getting is an essential oil. I can be pretty sure with most of them. I tell people, and one of the things my mentors used to tell me, the root is the root. So if I'm making rose water, and this is how I teach my students, take this as a freebie. Most people will do a hot process for rose water, but I don't like to do hot processes. Cold processes last longer. And so when I make my water, I use distilled water. I use rose water, edible rose water that's sold for consumption to give that smell. And then I put real roses in it. And then just for a little bit of but ain't got shit to do with everything. Everything up until then, all roses. I use the naturally derived rose fragrance oil just to give it a little bit of strength. But the rest of that shit is all roses. When you order rose water from me, you about to pour that cereal. That cat food. Oh, that's nasty. Cat threw up in her bowl. That's what she get for being nasty and greedy. She's disgusting. Okay, go ahead. I'll go ahead and pour it or whatever. But in any case, I'll talk loud when she pours it. Go ahead. You gotta take some scissors and open that. Jezebel, you nasty. You real nasty. But anyways, when I make stuff for you all, no, I'm not gonna tell you everything that's in my. And if you don't want to trust what I make for you, I'm cool. That's why I sell the herbs, the roots, the resins, okay? So you can make your own. That's why I teach, so you can make your own. Having a storefront means that, yeah, you do have to populate the store with maybe some things that you don't make yourself. So I've really tried hard to go to the community and talk to different people who make different things to have them in the store. That's how Mark started with us, by coming over and bringing things to sell. And then he would volunteer to help with the things he wasn't making. And then, we have different artists. Go ahead, cut the damn bag. What's wrong? Cut the bag. Just cut the bag. Just cutting open a big ass cat food bag. That's right. Just do it. Just rip the Band-Aid off. You ain't gonna be able to be quiet. You trying to be neat? Give it to me, honey. Give it to me. I'll do it when I'm done. I'll do it. Yeah, she ain't starving or miss no meals. Nasty buzzard. That's disgusting. So in any case, you can buy the herbs from me. You can go to I go right to little Reynoldsburg Library. You get Cunningham's. It's a nice basic explanation of magical correspondences. You can get Cunningham's. You can get the Llewellyn's correspondence. There are 50 million motherfucking 11 herbal correspondence books. And then you can go to the web and search. Wikipedia has excellent resources. There are apps for that, okay? So that when you're looking at things, you're getting the real thing. I went into a Hoodoo conjure shop in Chicago, not run by us, of course. And I thought I was getting me some sandalwood powder. And another very experienced witch and cook was with me, and she opened this up and she was like, wait a minute, this is paprika. Now, think about paprika's cost in comparison to sandalwood. And I'm convinced with most modern day sandalwood, they're just putting any old wood in a chipper and dyeing it red, honest to God. So I don't make my formulation solely dependent on dubious products, okay? But that you're really going to have to get real close to what some of these things really are. And I've given you several examples, okay? And there's more. In my customer group, I have a list of books you can get. But this is another thing too. I keep trying to explain to people, and they're talking about that's the whole one of the reasons for, why people want to interview me for media pieces, and I'm not doing it anymore. The fucking interview. Okay, maybe I'll come on somebody black show or something like that, but I'm not doing any more print interviews with anybody, because either one, I'm always misquoted or there's always some dumb shit. See my wall for the dumb shit that happened today. But people are like, well, do you wish that there were more representations about voodoo and hoodoo that were available to people? And I'm like, no, because there are. You've got anthropological studies. But more importantly, you have our art, you have our music, you have our movies, you have our literature. Langston Hughes, Orna Boatum, Zora Neale Hurston, Charles Chestnut, among the multitudes of others who have written about our magical practices. There's a gentleman who received the first PhD, I think it was in anthropology, and it's Black Gods of the Metropolis was his dissertation. So it's there. Now, of course, course, everybody's got their something, right? So you can't be really concerned about everything. You know, for a lot of people, they may want to use magical products, but they don't want to study them with the passion that I have, or that my contemporaries and some of my colleagues have. Well, that's okay, but then you ain't in no position to question whether you being put up for the okie doke or not. So in order to know that you're getting the right thing, just like buying a car, just like buying a house, knowing what to look for. You go in a house and you see cracks running down the wall, you might have a foundation issue. You might have to pay some extra to have a underground inspection of the joists and the things that are holding the house up, if you can get to them, okay? But you still have to dig deeper. When you want, you can just go buy a car because you like the way it looks or the color, but you may not know that that particular car has a very horrible record. Y'all remember the Yugo? You remember Hyundai when they first came out? What about Daewoo? Daewoo don't even make no motherfucking cars no more, do they? But if you don't know what makes a good car, then you're gonna go buy some bullshit. Same thing in magic. So the Kia Sophia, just some of these cars are just hot ass mess. Kia used to be real bad too. Daewoo, right? If you don't study, you can get fucked up. And I don't think, to me, magic, spirituality, religion, that's some place where you can really fuck yourself up if you don't know what you're doing. Or you could just, and I consider fucking yourself up having no effect at all. Okay? DeLoreans, I don't know if they were pieces of shit, but they was hot, wasn't they? Fieros. The reason why the motherfucking Fiero is not on the road today, y'all. But the motherfucking cars look good, right? I love beautiful things. I don't really like glitter too much, but I do like shiny. I like polished, professional things. But what I ain't gonna do is have my goofer dust smelling like roses, like some of these so-called conjure companies. So I take some real umbrage to the fact that this person, first of all, told me that that was not myrrh when that person had never seen myrrh, not in its natural resin state, much less coming out the fucking tree that it came out of. Okay? And then threw it away. Now, if you get something from me and it's fucked up, please call me right away and send it back, because I'll look at it. There's some shit that happens in shipping, right? You think you goofering somebody and you protecting them. I can't make this shit up, y'all. But people act like I do. I'm not new to this, y'all. I'm true to this. I'm also a psychic. I know when people are not on some shit. I've been dealing with a lot of people that are not on the up and up lately. Okay? Just like I knew when dude asked me, and you could tell by the hesitance and the way he asked his question that he knew he was out of pocket. He just didn't think I was going to call him on it. Was there some kind of ritual that I would be allowed? Because he knows voodoo has prohibitions. That voodoo will allow me to demonstrate. No, bitch. You wouldn't go and sit in the confessional booth with a priest and take pictures? Shit, half the time, I don't see that many pictures of anybody in their sermons and stuff like that. There's nothing sacred. But God has got to understand this. That people are doing this to make $1. And yes, prior to, and I make a good living, but I'm a single parent. I own a home. And prior to me opening my conjure business, money was tight. And I lived kind of paycheck to paycheck. No, I did. So now I can eat. We was able to go get burgers at Red Robin tonight. But if you think for one fucking moment, number one, that I can live off of and pay the employees and the teachers and the rent and the supplies, if you think that I'm doing this to get rich or to take advantage of you, think again. Okay? And so, yes, I should have done a ritual where I'm like, well, yeah, I could do a ritual, but I'm going to need some of your hair. Can I have it? That's what I should have asked, bitch. I should have been like, yo, bitch, yeah, if I can have some of your hair, I'll be more than happy to perform a voodoo ritual. In fact, I'll make a lovely doll of you. Would you like that? Because that's all, they don't even know what voodoo is. Voodoo simply means spirit. And yes, like any religion, we have ritual. But I literally think that some of these stupid motherfuckers from all races and walks of life think that we out here killing a goddamn goat every day as they sit down to their steak dinner. Figure that one out. Yeah, there are some people that may kill an animal every day because they're doing it to eat. Oh, Lord, there's not enough weed, wine, or woosah for this shit. I asked the spirits today because I haven't had decent working air conditioning in my store since we moved in. It's been erratic, to say the least, and the only reason why it's being replaced is because they don't make the parts to fix the air conditioner anymore. And I have to wait until October 3rd to have my air conditioner put in. Now that'll be 2 out of the 3 summers, and that I would have no decent air conditioner. I'm in there with a portable air conditioner trying to cool off a 12, almost 1,300 square foot store. So that's how my day started. And then interview guy and Murr girl. When you about it, when you legitimate, a lot of illegitimate people talk shit, but I back up my shit. I back up my shit with my products. I love it too, thank you. Got it at thrift store. Not thrift store, antique mall. I was trolling, and we troll antique malls, me and Mark, looking for different items. Whenever you get things from a used store or antique mart, make sure you cleanse them, okay, when you get home. I smoke cleanse mine because I didn't want to damage the jewelry. You can even lay them on certain altars depending on your practice to further cleanse them. Excuse me. So, Mars is in retrograde. And all I got to say is, try Jesus. Don't try me. I'm trying to be more patient. I'm trying to grow. I'm trying to consider things and be fair to people, even when they're wrong. I didn't feel like I owed that white man any explanation today. I'm like, you out of your fucking mind, no, and don't come to my store. Click. I didn't even spend that much time on him, but I called the black writer back and I told her how out of pocket he was, and she said, I'll get another photographer. So out of the blue, and she says, and I'm going to speak to him out of the blue, I got that bullshit apology. And you all have read my response. And now I'm not doing the article at all because the black photographer she did find wasn't even aware that she was going to be assigned to me. So, yeah. I'm really done with the media. And a lot of it is because with the media, they're never going to tell the truth anyway. It was for the October issue. Of course it was for Halloween, I'm not going to be anybody's caricature. I'm not going to be anybody's costume. I respect all practices. I don't walk around on the Day of the Dead with my face painted like a skeleton. I don't practice Reiki because I don't have someone from the culture who originated it to teach me. The only Indian deities and things that I've learned from people whose ancestors venerated those deities. And I think it's really important. The whole reason why I'm a voodoo sant is because I wanted to go back to the source. I wanted to go back to the oldest religions that I could find that would bring me closer to the creator and the world and the environment in which I live. And that is why I became a voodoo sant. And no, voodoo is not without its problems because of human interference. There are problematic people and things that people do in the name of voodoo that don't make no goddamn sense, but I'm not part of a house like that. And for that reason, a lot of people find the house that I belong to be not, some chicks that left after coming to the first night of initiation last year said they wanted a kinder, nicer house to be in. Voodoo is about light and dark. Okay, I don't know where he got this all love and light shit in his apology to me, because that is not what the article said. Yin, yang, up, down, just like science. There's what we consider to be good and what we consider to be bad in everything. And you have to make that choice of how your spirit is going to roll within that context. And that's what voodoo is. It's not, it's not performance art. In fact, when I did the Hoodoo presentation at the Prince George's County African American Museum, it was about dispelling that performative shit that has been pushed down our throats in the media about what our ancient practices are really like. Because if it's not black and spooky, people don't want to buy it. So this performance art that I did was divinations for people, and sitting down and discussing the legacy and the history of hoodoo as I have been taught it. By no means completely exhaustive. There are so many things that I can learn every day just by talking to elders, reading, digging deeper, documentaries, everything. You cannot depend on just one source for your magic. I have people who have taken classes from other people, and when those other people see that they've taken classes with me too, they'll defriend them, they'll block them, because they don't want them to have more than one teacher. But I'm sorry, a really good teacher wants you to branch out, wants you to go and take courses from other practitioners so you can find out what is bullshit and what is not. You don't have to hide behind being the only teacher. I'm tired, y'all. I am gonna go and, I got wine in the refrigerator. I'm gonna go smoke and drink and kiki with my friends, because that's too much. Keep that in mind, what we are dealing with right now planetarily. Not to mention this 20-year cycle. I read to you from the Wee Moon Planner. You need to go and read the astrological forecast. There's some important dates coming up. There's going to be some dates in this calendar. I'm going to stay the fuck at home. I ain't even going to be out, y'all. Because the energy that is around us right now is turmoil. It's transformative. And it is definitely turning a lot of things upside down that, for whatever reason, we thought would remain right side up. So pay attention to these things. But more importantly, wherever you order your magical products from, people bugging hard. Wherever you're buying your magical products from, first of all, make sure they got a reputation of being trustworthy. We real good about that word of mouth. Secondly, before you say something is bullshit, not authentic, is not real, educate yourself. I wanted to show that person today what real myrrh essential oil looks like, y'all. It looks like black strap molasses. You're going to go look up those dates, Tawana. I'm not going to give those dates to you. Go and read several astrological forecasts. Find out for yourself. Not because Liz told you, but because the stars told you. Go and read. Just like you can go online, find out all the moon phases right now. You can go to several different websites. They'll say the same thing about what phase of moon we're in. Same thing will be with really detailed astrological forecasts. Not this shit you read in the newspaper either. Okay? But before you tell somebody that whatever they're doing is not authentic or whatever they're selling could not possibly be what you thought it was, you better have had it before in your life. How can you tell somebody what real mirror looks like when all you've had is the essential oil? Don't do that, y'all. Be educated. Or I would rather people didn't purchase from me or didn't practice magic at all if they're uneducated. In fact, if you're in my customer group or you've seen me talk online, I tell you, don't buy shit that you don't know how to use. Okay? Don't buy shit that you can't use. I had a young lady contact me the other day because her candle flame was just shooting out of the top of the candle, number one. And she had to put it out 7 days. She's also in a dorm. I don't think they allow you to burn candles in dorms these days, do they? I know they didn't even let us light incense when we was in college, but I thought that was to cover up the smell of weed, but I realized it's a fire hazard. So instead of buying that 7-day candle from me, what she should have bought was a candle divination from me, and I could have burned it here in the safety of my fireplace. Read the divination and told her what she needed to do. But see, people always, one or the other, you want to make your magic personal, and I get that and I understand that, and if you can and you can do it safely, by all means do. Or they were just being cheap because it's half the price to buy a hand-poured 7-day candle versus a candle divination. You get what you pay for. But here's the kicker. This person took all my classes. And if you've taken Hoodoo 102, I tell y'all about trimming wicks, don't I? I tell you not to leave that wick all high. See, folks want it to be all high and sparky and giving out all of these fucking messages. And if you're not going to sit there with that candle and meditate on that flame, a high and sparky flame really isn't going to matter. 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch of a wick. Here's another freebie for you. On a 7-day candle, that's where your flame should be. That's where how long your wick should be, about this long. And it should be well under by about this much from your candle glass. 2 reasons why. It's going to burn slower. Smaller wick, smaller burn. Second reason, high flame, lots of soot. You will end up with misinterpreting the soot residue on the glass of the candle. But it's not, y'all, it ain't simple as light a goddamn candle. And, you know, I did not choose this life for myself. I did not choose voodoo. Voodoo chose me. Quite literally. Spirits rolled up in my house and were like, hey, bitch, you've been running from us for far too long. You've been running from us since you were a little girl. We've been riding you since you was a little baby. How long are you going to keep ignoring us? So here, let this one do. I'm going to start turning on your computers and logging in and letting you watch. Or I'm going to move shit across the room. I'm going to come and sit on your friends as they sleep until you pay attention. Among other things. Those were the minor things. And here I am. And I am grateful for the opportunity. I am grateful for the opportunity to make real, honest products. In fact, even the stuff that we sell in the store is not mine. I don't buy junk, y'all. And I tell them people when they're coming to buy those Orisha candles, the Orisha devotees don't use that in their devotional. It may be a decorative item, but that's you know, not really a legitimate practice item. I don't sell elekes, I don't sell pots, I don't sell elegua heads, I don't sell a lot of shit because it's disrespectful to the practices that I'm trying to serve. I don't sell white sage. There's a ton of sage you can use. I think sage burning stinks. I love to eat sage. I love to put sage in my magical mixtures. It smells great till you light that shit on fire and it smells like hell and destruction. Some things should smell like hell and destruction, you know, like goofer dust. But, you know, if I'm fumigating my house, I don't want that. You really have to start looking at magic on a practical level, y'all. This ain't The Craft. That's a movie. This ain't bippity boppity boo. This is not bewitched. You're not going to be able to wiggle your fucking nose and manifest something. Sometimes we manifest things really quickly. Sometimes it takes a very long time, and sometimes those manifestations don't come because they weren't meant for you. But if you divined on it, you'd have known that in the first place. So, and I've been talking about this for years, and I can keep talking about this shit till I'm blue in the face. But, you know, as long as what you keep, and that's the biggest thing I can tell you about any spiritual journey. Somebody was saying, what was the biggest thing they learned about their spiritual journey? Somebody asked that on a post the other day, and somebody said, to surrender. Because you're going to find out just how much you don't know. Every day I find out how much I don't know. And every day I find out just how many more uninformed people there are in this world that I really thought knew better. You have to be open to correction. You have to be open to new things. You're going to have to be open to new ways of thinking. Oh, but you're going to have to be ready for surrender. Because I did a divination this morning, and I'm like, Spirit, do I have to keep a store open after my lease runs out? And they told me yes. And I just looked over at my altars. I said, well, you know, I'm going to ask you again when we get closer to it. Because I wasn't happy with the answer, but I understood the answer. You know, most people that will come for readings are not going to obey. They're not going to surrender. They're not going to do what's for them. And then they're going to wonder why their life is still trash later on. And then they're going to also say, oh, the spirits weren't real, or the magic didn't work, and this is all bullshit. Nope, you just didn't listen. So if I can encourage you all during this Mars retrograde is, number one, use this time to stay a little bit more to yourself. Use this time, this quarantine, this Mars retrograde, this 20-year cycle, this cosmic shift. Use it to learn more about yourself, the spirituality that you wish to pursue or you are already in, and definitely the world around you. Because you should be able to, and there may be a point, I didn't just do the vegetable garden and the herb garden this year so I could sell herbs, y'all. I realized that at 51 years old, I had to go back. Mind you, I cook a lot of my own food. I don't eat out every day. I know how to make my own clothes. But shit, does a bitch know how to spin wool? No. But I figured, well, shit, I can be naked, but I at least need to eat. So how do we grow our food? And if I want to eat meat, I've learned the ways to kill an animal mercifully. And I've watched them be butchered. I don't know, and I hope I don't ever have to get to the point where I got to butcher a whole animal by myself. But if I want to keep eating meat, I will. Maybe I'll stop. Doubt it. Learn how to take care of yourself. Learn what's real and learn what is the matrix. Have a good weekend, everyone.